Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. This is the big match preview. My name is Louis Mendes. Hope everyone is well on their Thursday evening. On this evening's show, we will, of course, be looking ahead to Saturday's trip up to the LAMEX Stadium to take on Stevenage, plus plenty more to talk about this week, as I'm sure you can understand. Top right, first up, Nathan Muller. How you doing, Nath?
Living the dream, mate. Found this the other way. Found this the other day in charity shop. 3p bargain. Thought I picked it up, but no, I actually found it doing some clear out. So I thought I'd doss the old Bet Derby one from the old Bowyer days. So apart from that, busy week. Nice to see your faces.
Yeah, as always. Yeah, I mean, I was enjoying that bit where you were just explaining how you picked up something from the charity shop, because the listeners who don't watch on YouTube be wondering, oh, I wonder what it is. But you did give away. It's a lovely red shirt from. I was going to say something else, but I can't now. They've given it away. Also, bottom of the screen there. I don't know if he's been delving in any charity bins so far this week, or maybe he took his yellow shirt down to the charity shop because he's not wearing it today. Tom Walling, how you doing, Tom?
Early days for that. I'll give it a few more wears, but yeah, forgot to put the Charlton shirt on. But I'm not going to do a Mark Newbury and change mid-show. So yeah, you're stuck with blue and white for now.
One of the most concerning visuals we've ever had when Mark Newbury was indeed topless.
Tough day, wasn't it, that one?
Yeah, in view of those of us watching. And still trying to come out the other side of that. So yeah, on tonight's show, as I said, we'll look ahead to Stevenage. We've got a Stevenage fan joining us later on, Nate from the Boro Pod. Does anyone ever call you Nate, Nathan? I might start doing that now. But
no, some people will, because where I work, I deal with people in America. And they do call me Nate over there, but I tend to ignore their emails if they do.
All right, well, there's Nate, the views of Nate Muller here on Charlton Live. So we're going to hear from Nate from the Boro Pod later on in the show. Look ahead to the Stevenage game ourselves. Hearing, of course, from the Addicks boss, Nathan Jones. We're also going to discuss a little rumour that's been going around. We did sort of poo-poo it ourselves last week about the link with the Cardiff job, but Richard Corley, or Big Richard, as he makes me call him, says did ask the question earlier on today. So we'll hear what Nathan said in a few moments' time. Plus, we'll have a little bit of a Q&A, I think, today. There's any questions you've got for us about the start of the season, any views you're interested in having, let us know in the comments. We're going to hear from your comments as well. Good evening to Sam, who's first in there, saying hopefully we can get back to winning ways and that Nathan Jones has learnt from the errors last Saturday. David's in there, Andrew's in there. Well, David set a good question. We have to do some Googling. If there's any former Charlton players at Stevenage. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but I might be missing something obvious. Is Forster Kasky still there?
I think Jake's still there, yeah.
Yeah, well, there we go. Andrew's in there. All Hell Let Loose is there. Alan's there. Chris Dudley, Paul Davenport, Chris Woodward, Gary Curtis, Dan Wyndham's in there. Everyone's in there. Jake and James. Let us know how you're feeling ahead of the game with Stevenage. Like I say, if you've got any questions for a bit of a Q&A in the first half of the show as well, get involved. Anything you want to know about Nathan's shopping habits or Tom, what he gets up to on his weekends, get involved. Right, but first of all, let's talk about actual football. So Nathan Jones has been linked with the vacant Cardiff City job. From where I see it, that link has mainly come from the fact that he once mentioned about a year ago that he'd love to manage Cardiff at some point in his career, having been from the area, it being his hometown club. But the rumours intensified this week, as they can do on social media. So Big Dog Cooley was put in front of Nathan Jones earlier and asked him the question.
Just one really, Nathan. It's in regards, quite a few Charlton fans have been on to me this week about the betting odds for the Cardiff job, and your name was linked with that vacancy. I just wonder what you'd say. Fans want me to kind of reassure them you're going nowhere, but obviously I'm not the person that can do that. So just wondered what you would say on the matter.
Like, it's always when this kind of stuff comes up, and I'm very flattered to be linked with that. One day I've made no secret, and I'm being honest and totally open here in terms of one day I would like to manage Cardiff, my hometown club. A lot of my fans there. I would like, my dad lives close in terms of stuff, but right now I've got a fantastic job. I'm at a wonderful club where I'm really, really looking to build something and stuff. So that's where we are. Plus, I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone in any way. So for me, it's nothing. I get on with my job day in, day out, and I love my job here. The people I work with, I've asked a lot of people to buy into that. So yeah, there's nothing to say really.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask finally as well, the club had indicated to me there'd been no contact. I'm assuming you've had no contact from Cardiff.
Well, if I had, I'm not going to suddenly turn around and say it here, am I? But look, there's nothing really to worry about. I've got a wonderful job here. I took this job for a certain reason, because I believe that we can build something special. As I said, I made no secret about the Cardiff job because it's my hometown club and it's it's Welsh and all the affiliations there. And one day I really would like to manage the football club, but right now I'm Charlton manager and I'm thoroughly enjoying the project we're building.
So Nathan Jones off to Cardiff then. Nate Muller, who should be the next Charlton manager?
Who should be the next one? I don't know. Do you know, like someone who's really good with the media, like I don't know, Michael Appleton, or I don't know, someone along those lines would be nice. But be a nice change. But
yeah, what did you make of his comments? I mean, it's the whole reason the rumor has started is because he has said, truthfully, a year ago he'd love to manage Cardiff one day. I'd love to manage Charlton one day. I don't mean it's going to happen. Obviously, he's got a better chance than I have actually, but it sounded like overall he's pretty happy here, and I think the big sticking point is don't forget that he's contracted to us, and therefore there would be a hefty compensation payout that I'm not sure if Cardiff really want to pay.
No, exactly. I think they've had 7 managers in 5 years, so they don't tend to stick around either. So you don't know how that's going to go. But do you know what? I was listening to it. I think if I was in a position where Nathan is, and I was managing a football club, I don't know, Barnsley, say for example, and I was linked with a Charlton job, I'd probably say the same. Like, yeah, of course, I'd love to do it, but right now I'm in a project, and that's the end of it. Really, I don't see anything coming about of it. If it does, like anything can happen, then we'll just have to cross that bridge when it comes to it. But from that clip that obviously with Big Rich had with Nath, that he said what I expected him to say. Really, he weren't going to come out and say, "Oh no, I haven't been contacted yet," or "Oh yeah, I definitely want to go. I can't wait to get out of here." Like, he was never going to come out and say that. So nothing really new, really. Things can change if, like you say, with a compensation package. No idea what that is. But if they come in and give Charlton that compensation or say we'll pay it, then they might not have a choice and he might go. But who knows? But I think it'd be a bit crazy because they look like they're in a bit of a state. They've been there for a bit of a while, and there's rumblings behind the scenes from former players and that sort of stuff. That's not a great place to be. So to do all the work that he's done since when he came in, when was that? I can't remember when Nathan came in, February or whatever it was. He's done so much in terms of laying the groundwork. It just seems a bit of a shame and a bit of a waste of time just to then go and move and try and do it all again. So it wouldn't surprise me if this sort of goes away and it was just a nut. But yeah, I'm not worrying about it, but who knows?
Yeah. Chris Collingwood says, can't see Nathan or Nate Jones going to Cardiff at the moment, as it's a basket case of a club. But this Nate from the Boro Pod is going to be really confused when he comes on, and we will start laughing at his name. Alan Shepherd says, you never know, Louis. I assume referring to me getting the Charlton job, which is definitely an outside possibility. Paul says it wasn't a flat denial. I mean, when I heard those quotes earlier today, I did think they're not going to look great written down because sometimes you just need someone to come out and say no. But as Nathan said, I think he is honest on that front, and it's pointless rowing back from something he said maybe a year ago about how he'd love to manage Cardiff at some point, Tom. I mean, I guess there must be a massive pull for you as well, hailing from that part of the country.
I'll go with him. I'll take my yellow shirt with me. But I think he's never going to say no, is he? Because then if he does go, and I don't think he probably is going to, but if he then does go, he looks like an idiot. Whereas if he says, do you know what, I'm happy with what we're building here, which I think he is, club have backed me, we know that, and I'm enjoying my time, that can all be true and he can stay. But if they do come in and they want to talk to him and they're prepared to pay the compensation and our board say, do you know what, actually, we could use that money to invest in a new manager, then he can't go, well, actually, I'm not going to go because I said in a press conference I wasn't going to go. So I think he's keeping his options open, and that's probably the right thing to do in any job. But my sense is he's not in a rush to go there. And as that comment said, at the moment, Cardiff is not a great one to go to, is it? He could be there 3 months and then he'd be out. So I'm sure he will manage Cardiff at some point because he's a competent football manager and it's a dream of his. I just don't think now is the right time. And I think that's probably what he thinks too. But again, if he says no now, what does that look like for the club going forwards as well for Cardiff? So he's got to be careful. He's got to play it politically. I get that. I'm not particularly worried at the moment. I think he is keen to see what he can build here. But I understand why he's answered it the way he has. So who knows? Who knows? As you say, it started as speculation. My only concern earlier in the week was, I think it was somebody from like a podcast who not just a rumour mill. It was something like Football Weekly or somebody like that were talking about it. And when it's kind of a serious journalist, or like when Rich asked the question, or maybe you want to counter that he's a serious journalist, I don't know, but I wouldn't say that. But when you hear it from a source like that, it can be a bit more concerning. But when it's kind of the Daily Star or the Daily Mirror or whatever, you probably brush it under the carpet. So, yeah, over to you to slag Rich off now, because I would never do such a thing.
Well, nor would I, but All Hell Let Loose does ask a very pertinent question. Is he still socially distancing, or could he just not be bothered to turn up? I mean, that is the right question for me. Like, why doesn't he actually go to the press conferences? Like, why does he do them over Zoom? It's a big question, and maybe we should get it out there that Richard is lazy. All Hell Let Loose then adds, can Nate Jones afford another failure like Southampton and Stoke on his CV and still be seen as a top quality manager? I mean, there must be a little element of he probably needs a promotion or a very good season with Charlton to get back on track. I mean, he's done very well with Luton, as we know, but he has had a couple of hits. He probably might need a little bit of reputation building again, maybe. I mean, is that fair, Nate?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I nearly swore then. No, I agree, mate. I think, like, to be fair, we all know that the job he done at Luton is obviously well documented, and he done a fantastic job there and was part of the reason where they are in the Premier League last year. No doubt about it. Like you say, he had a couple of blips here and there. Mainly Southampton was obviously dealing with egos. Stoke, poison chalice. No one seems to be getting anything right there, so that's another one. So yeah, I think it's all right for me saying it as a Charlton fan, but I think he needs to stick something out and then follow a project through, because I think, you know, that he is a good motivator and he knows what he's doing, and we're not going to get instant success after the last few years that we've had. It's not, in my opinion, it's not going to be an overnight thing. So I think he'll want to see it through, especially that he has that sort of affiliation starting his coaching career at Charlton as well. There's that little bit of, not magic, I don't want to be corny, but there's another word for it that I can't think of. But, you know, there's that little bit of spice there, really. So hopefully it does. But like anything in life, like football, you can't blame people wanting to go to different clubs and that, because at the end of the day, if we didn't want him, we could easily sack him, you know. So he's just keeping his options open. Like every single player is a manager, everyone's going to be the same. But I think, yeah, this job's, it's got a good platform for him to really do something really good here with the backing of the board, which they have done, and there's no doubt about it. It's not like they've not backed him. So it's a long journey, but yeah, I think he'll be. I think it'll be disappointing going. It's not like Cardiff are like on the cusp of the playoffs, and you know they're in a bit of a state. The window's closed, so he's got a lot of. It'll be a big job, and it'll be a horrible job, but it's a club close to his heart, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew says, would he take the Luton contingent with him if he went? James says, Richard Corley is a legend. I imagine Richard's probably paid Jones to say that. Joe says his record, Nathan Jones, when he jumped ship is awful, which might help us as well. Sam sort of talking about how when he left to both those clubs, they were under poor owners. It wasn't just Nathan's management. Obviously, yeah, he had bad times at difficult clubs. I think it's fair to say, but at the same time, you know, maybe a cheeky little promotion with us would help his cause. Right, I did say I wanted to do a bit of a Q&A. If anyone's got any questions for us. I just wanted to bring up this first one from Chris. It's more of a comment than a question, but we can open it up again. It says, evening all. I'm still not over Blackpool's housery on Saturday. Never had any thought on them before. I hope they lose every game forever afterwards. And as for Morgan, he lost his legacy classes. I mean, and then just because we're talking about Blackpool and sort of it's interesting to compare how they've got on over the last few weeks with the result we had as well. Hell let loose points and outs, and he said he didn't think they looked great on Saturday, but they've just beaten us and Huddersfield away over the last 5 days, and we're still in that early stage of the season, Tom, where you can't say that's a great result or anything like that. But it feels like going to Huddersfield and winning should be a good result. I know Northampton did over the weekend as well. I know our performance left a lot to be desired, particularly in the first half. But again, is it another sort of barometer of where we are, seeing Blackpool winning and then going and beat Huddersfield again? Does that almost say, well, maybe we're in a situation where we've lost to a side that's on the up at the moment, and that could be a little bit of mitigation for Nathan, and just hopefully that we can one we can just put behind us?
I think it's probably part of it. I think we don't want to put it behind us too much. I think we need to learn from it. But we said it about Wigan on the opening day. They then went and lost 2 or 3 of their first games, and we were saying, oh, maybe they're not as good as we thought then, because we were expecting them to be up there. Whole point is everyone's got an assumption of where every team's going to be before it kicks off. After 2 or 3 games, everybody's judging. And then between that and sort of game 10 or whenever it is that your graph comes out, until basically a quarter of the way through the season, I'd say, so 11, 12 games in, you just can't really tell where people are. You know there's going to be somebody who makes a late surge. You know there's going to be somebody, probably us, who has a complete collapse and goes down towards the bottom. But largely, people start to stabilise themselves after a quarter of the season, and we're not there yet. We're kind of 4 or 5 games out of that. So do I think Blackpool will be up in the top sort of 8? Probably, yes. Do I think we will? Probably, yes. Do I think that's that different from what I had at the start of the season? I don't know, because I haven't got the graph I put in the league that Joe put together in front of me, so I'm going to be careful about what I say. But I think, look, we knew Birmingham were going to be up near the top. There were a couple of teams we expected to be near the bottom. The rest of it, I think, is probably up for grabs. And I think we said this all the way back on the preview show. This is a competitive league this year. It's not as easy to pick out the rest of them. So you look at the likes of a Barnsley, a Wigan, Bolton, us, Blackpool, Huddersfield. You know, there's a lot of teams that are big at this level, sort of 20,000 seater up stadiums. Lots of them have been in the Premier League in our lifetime. And so that's what we're competing with now. That's what we're competing with. And I go back to something I said a few weeks ago. We have missed opportunities. The last 2 seasons when the league wasn't very good, we were equally not very good. And if we'd have just been a little bit better, it would have been a stroll. But we are where we are. I do think it's competitive. I think there's going to be ups and downs. As you say, people go on little runs. I just hope this isn't a little run from us. You know, we had the Reading defeat, we bounced back. Now we've had another one. We just need to bounce back again. And as I say, points-wise, we're still on just under our 2 points a game, I think. But if we get to Stevenage and win that, we're in pretty good shape. So, yeah, no need to panic. But I just think it's hard to judge teams this early on, particularly when they've had a managerial change like Blackpool have, because that sort of gets added to the mix as well. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I see all hell let loose mentioning other teams. But as I say, there's just a lot of teams, big-ish teams for this level. So it's just not going to be easy.
Excellent stuff. Right, we had a question from Bernie. This one's for you, Nate. It says, how do we increase the number of goal-scoring chances? We are set up for our wing-backs to get forward and create chances, but up to now, they're not getting forward enough. And just before I throw to you on that, Nathan, just one other thing. I mentioned on Sunday I was going to do it. That we were talking about how we're struggling to get the midfield involved in games. So I did a little bit of a touch count to see how much our different players are touching the ball. Hopefully you can see this on the screen, and you can see, I mean, the player who's touched the ball least really this season, Luke Berry. Greg Doherty's sort of halfway up there. Connor Coventry's right at the top, which doesn't surprise anyone. But so perhaps, you know, again, I haven't sat there and compared this to other sides and how much their midfields touch it. But in particular, Berry, like, he's got a bit of a role, it feels like, of popping up on the edge of the area for knockdowns, like his goal against Leyton Orient. But, you know, is there a way we can get the likes of Doherty and Berry on the ball a little bit more, as well as the wing backs, just to try and be a bit more creative than the arrowed punt forward looking for Ghassan Hadmay's Bonds?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So that little table there says exactly what we've all been seeing, is that predominantly it's just longer balls and the balls are bypassing midfielders. So, I mean, apart from the wing backs getting forward enough, which I think Josh Edwards showed it in his first couple of games a little bit with Wigan and Leyton Orient before he got injured. But Kane Ramsey, I think, needs to do more. I think he's been great so far. He's been one of the standouts, if anything, so far this season. But I think I said it on Sunday. It's the midfield three for me. I think if you look at how we play, if we do go long, we're not passing through the thirds at the minute, which is obviously why Luke Berry is right at the bottom. That proves that. If you're playing that way, you've got to have a midfielder that goes beyond. Luke Berry isn't a beyond the front man player. He's a one who arrives late in the box, on the edge of the box. Connor's not one. He sits. Greg Dockett is a bit of an all-round player, but again, he doesn't go in beyond. So apart from that, it's just TC. So if TC doesn't go in beyond, or it doesn't go to him, it then comes straight back, and when we start it again. So again, like we said it on Sunday, we've got to try and find a way, which Nathan tried doing with Reg on Saturday, and it didn't work, clearly, which we said on Sunday. But we need to try and get these players on the ball, because these players can play. Luke Berry, it's not like Luke Berry cannot pass a ball. It's not like none of our midfields can pass a ball. All of them have played at a higher level than League One, every single one of them, those three especially. So it's about getting us, it's about movement. We don't move enough. If you look at, what was that game I watched the other week? That Birmingham-Wrexham game. If you watch Birmingham move, I've not seen anything like it. They just move. They're so fluid, but we're quite structured and too structured at times, which I get why we are. And that's what we had to work on from last season, because we were poor defensively. But there's nothing in front of that. So we do have to go long. No one's getting beyond a had me very often. And it's quite predictable. So I think that's what we have to try and do. It's easy me sitting here saying that. Of course it is. But I think that's the only way we're actually going to get more of the better players, technical players on the ball. And obviously the wing backs higher, which they're not going that high.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple of questions I'm going to come back to, but just to sort of keep that on the theme a little bit, I guess you could argue this is part of it. I mean, Live Life to the Full says, question, should we keep starting at Hadme? And I think in a way that probably links with the questions that were coming in about, why did he drop Mitchell for Reg? I mean, it's all about the team sort of linking together and the style of play together and the way we're going to get those chances. And it starts with how, who's playing up front and how we're getting the ball to them, whether it's long balls or not. And it goes back as far as we spoke about on Sunday, Tom. We got a couple of tweets disagreed with the way we were explaining it. And, we were explaining why we thought he dropped Mitchell for Reg, which was he thought he could get Reg as a ball playing defender into the midfield. A couple of people, there's at least one tweet sort of saying like, why did you even sort of countenance that? Why didn't you just tell off Nathan for that? But we did say it was the wrong decision as well. But he is clearly trying to find a way to plug that gap and to plug that deficiency in the side. But between us, I don't think we've come up with the right answer yet, because Nathan clearly hasn't quite done that yet. And I genuinely think he's better off going back to what we're good at and just hoping that we nick the odd goal here and there at the moment while we try and find something that works better than that.
Yeah, if we weren't clear, I think we all agree that he got it wrong last Saturday because we lost the game. So let's just make that very, very clear now. But yeah, I think what we were trying to say is, look, we understand the thinking behind trying something. And I think we also gave him credit for giving it a go, because as I say, we have managers in the past that lose 4 or 5 in a row and still keep paying the same 11 and the same players week in, week out, expecting something to change. So he has got a team that's in pretty good form. Okay, that we'd lost to Reading and then we bounced back. As I say, we'd got a draw and a win since then. And he's gone, do you know what? I'm coming up against an experienced manager, a good side. They do something slightly different. We talked about their goal threat. They create a lot of chances, but they also leave a lot of space in the back and concede a lot. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to put a centre-back in there who's a bit more ball playing. I'm going to put Kanu in there. Again, I don't know exactly what his thinking was, but a different striker up there to try something different. Okay, it hasn't worked. We all agree it hasn't worked, but at least he tried it. So I think you're right. He has to go back to, okay, well, I know this team is capable of keeping clean sheets, so I don't want to mix that up too much. But then it goes back to what Nath was just talking about in the previous answer. How do you get that creativity? Because lumping it up to Gas, even that is not a bad tactic if you get the people around him to get on the end of balls. But as you saw on the graph there, Berry and Doc are nowhere near in terms of the amount of touches. They're not bursting forward anywhere near enough. I know Berry was in the box to snatch that goal the other day, but that wasn't exactly a burst into the box, was it? So that's the challenge. If you're going to lump it up to because Gas, I'd love to know how many headers he's lost because it ain't very many. Every time the ball goes up, more often than not, he wins that header, but just doesn't go anywhere. How much of that's his fault? So I empathise with Gas a lot. As I said, I think last week or the week before, he's going to be judged on scoring goals and he's not scoring enough. And so I understand why people want him out of the team. I think when Miles comes back and is fully fit, he will probably go in. I think there's an argument to try TC and Godden at some point and just see what that's like as well. But Gas is getting far more stick than I think he deserves because I think he's doing what's being asked of him, and the players are just not getting around him. So I think this 5-3-2 or 3-5-2 or whatever is clearly the one that Jones wants to try and pursue wherever he can. He needs those alternatives, and I think he's shown that he's going to give that a go, albeit when he gets it right, or rather, I'd rather he gets it right than gets it wrong. But yeah, I think he's got to then figure out that side. But if we can do what we started the season doing and keeping clean sheets, then we're getting points. Then we're at least getting points. And then it's okay, how do we change those ones into 3? But there's a lot of decisions, isn't there? And I think the squad's slightly more stocked than it has been, so he's able to make some of those decisions. Again, I'm not going to say it's groundbreaking or anything like that, but he's got options there. He just needs to try and, maybe that's what he was doing last week, just trying a couple and seeing what works. But yeah, I definitely think we need to try and bounce back. Stevenage are obviously down towards the bottom half of the table. We'll hear more about them. But I know they don't score a lot or concede a lot, so might be a bit of a bore fest on Saturday. But yeah, I think criticism of individual players is a bit harsh. I think that the whole collective hasn't quite gelled yet going forwards. But I still feel like it will. I know we're 7 games in now, but I still feel like it's going to.
I've just brought back onto the screen the touch map just because previously it was only showing players who've played over 200 minutes, just to show. I mean, everyone talking about Chuks in the comments, just how vital he is. I mean, he's the only one who's gone touches per minute the same amount as Connor Coventry. Macaulay Gillespie has touched it a lot as well, but Chuks has only played 132 minutes, but he's touched the ball a lot. He does get involved when he comes on the pitch, and that does make a big difference. But I mean, there was a question in there about whether we should start Chuks. Yeah, live life to the full again, saying why is not starting Chuks such an issue for Jones? It's a myth. Well, I mean, whether it's a myth about him getting injured every time he starts, it feels like it's not long after he starts a game that he ends up getting injured. So I can see why he'd be reluctant to, because we'd be screwed if we didn't have him at this moment in time. I think that's fair to say. Right, we'll just do a couple more of the questions. There was one further up from Jake. This is just more a controversial one. I don't know if you saw this, Nate, to be fair, but he says, what did you make of our ex-players' reactions to Albie's social media post? So even I very rarely look at Instagram, but I just saw Albie was on there. I was like, I'll see what he said about the goal. And he didn't say anything outrageous, but similar to when Macaulay Bond scored against us last season, like there was just a lineup of reprobates in the little likes and the comments. Like Lyle Taylor was in there, Charlie Kirk was in there. I was like, blimey, I know they're supporting their mate, but God, it can wind you up sometimes, can't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's do you know what? I'm like zero. I wasn't going to say the next word, but zero something given from my perspective. I think, like, do you know what? Like, he scored a goal, like, fair play. Like, he plays for another team now. Yeah, he had a little bit of a fist pump. It's not like he did what Macaulay Bond did at Gillingham and started like, putting the old ear up, like, you know. But even that, it's still banter. It's just annoying that it's Macaulay Bond because he only scores against us. But yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm not really bothered by it. If we go and smash them next time, and then we ain't going to say nothing, are we? So it's all just a bit of banter for me. I don't really get involved with it, but yeah, hopefully don't do it again because it's annoying when they do it. But it just seems to happen all the time there. Every flaming ex-player, it's just like I might as well. I keep saying to myself, right, fiver on that person scoring 90 minutes. Never do it because I think no, it will change now. But no, it literally happens every time. So not endorsing betting, by the way. Bet responsibly before I get anyone in trouble. But yeah, I don't really get bothered by it, mate, to be honest with you. Waterford Ducks back.
Yeah, but that is quite a responsible bet to bet against Charlton. I won on Macaulay Bond scoring for Cambridge last season. Not much. Not much of a better myself. There's still loads of questions. I'll just do one more then from James. Well, Ian has a good one actually about first goal being scored, but I think it is very important for us to get first goal in games, because when we go behind, we can look a little bit lost at times. But yeah, James says, given Birmingham, Wrexham, etc., will 2 points a game be enough for automatic promotion this season? Could easily be a 100-point season. I think Birmingham will run away with it. I think to that extent. I still think, not that I'm saying we're going to be part of that conversation, but I think second place will be a little bit more open. But yeah, Can you see it being a high amount of points needed? As it stands, we're on a very good points per game ratio, but it's only seven games, Tom, so you really can't count your chickens too early. But top two probably a tough one, but I still think it's certain if you get 2 a game, that'll be plenty for playoffs.
Yeah, definitely, and I don't think top 2 is guaranteed by any stretch. I think I'm very much looking at top 6 as where we might get to, and of course, even that's not guaranteed. I guess it depends, doesn't it? Because we're talking about the strength of the league as a whole. So it's lots of those other teams going to take points off each other. Like I say, if Wigan and Bolton start to pick their seasons back up, well, we've already taken 3 points off each of them. If Blackpool started the season badly, then they've taken 3 points off us. So if that's going to happen, it might be that there's a team like a Birmingham that are stand out at top of the league, and then actually the rest is very, very tight, but maybe their points haul isn't as high because so many people have taken points off each other. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm a bit like you. I think Wrexham will drop off. I think they've obviously had a very good start, but I don't think they'll be able to maintain that. Famous last words. But yeah, I just think a lot of the teams from sort of 2nd through to 10th are probably going to take a lot of points off each other. And so it's going to be very, very tight. Might go down towards the end of the season. But as a result of that, I suspect that points haul might be a little bit lower because there's so many points sort of distributed across more teams, if that makes sense. But that's just down to the competitiveness of the league. So it doesn't make it any easier. It might mean that the points total is less overall, but you've still got to get more than all the rest to get in those positions. So yeah, I'm like you really. I'm looking at best at a top 6, not the top 2. Obviously, if we get there, I'd be delighted. But yeah, I think it would be very arrogant to say that we're going to get there for sure.
Yeah, Chris, just backing up what Tom was saying about Gassan, saying he ranks per 90 in the top 10% for aerial duels. Top 12% for duels 1, top 25% for percent of aerials 1, top 10% for recoveries, and top 30% for possession 1 in the final third. He's doing his job. A lot of good stats there for you if you're a bit of a stato like Chris is. And we are as well, to be fair. Right, we're going to have a break. When we come back, we will turn our attention to Saturday's trip over to the LAMEX.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the River. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live. This is the big match preview on your Thursday evening. Saturday, we are making the trip over to the LAMEX to take on Stevenage. And delighted to say that we are now joined by Nate from the Boro Pod, who's going to tell us all about Alex Revell's side. Nate, thanks for joining us. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, mate. It's been an interesting week. But yeah, how are you all?
Yeah, really, really, really good. Mainly because I didn't watch Wigan 0 Stevenage 0 on Tuesday night. Actually, tell us a little bit about that game and your start to the season so far.
Nothing really happened. It was after losing 2-0 away at Exeter Saturday lunchtime. We made 5 changes going into the game, and it was very much a let's go and try not to ship a couple more and take a point. So it's if we're being pragmatic, we went and did a good job and we got the point we wanted. But there was very little in terms of entertainment from both sides. To be fair, it was very much even sides cancelling each other out, I think.
Hello, mate. Strangely, I decided to watch that game on Tuesday as well. I just thought I'd do a look, see what's happening there, and yeah, it was quite hard. But you know what? It was just quite useful to see. Obviously, we're about to play. Obviously, Carl Pierre Gianni obviously just wins everything in the air. He's an absolute unit. Very good player. Obviously, Jamie Reid's coming back to fitness, isn't he? So I mean, my question will be. Usually, I'd ask what your strengths are, but what I'm trying to understand now is where would Charlton be successful if we had to beat Stevenage?
Probably down the right wing. That's going to be your quickest route to success. We're a little bit weaker on that side of the pitch than on our right. So your right wing rather than left. We're really solid defensively. I think we've got the most clean sheets so far this season. We've also got like the most clean sheets out of anyone in the top 4 leagues in 2024. That being said, we're having a bit of an injury crisis at the moment with both Dan Sweeney and Charlie Good out injured. Kane Smith, right back, is also out injured. So we are down to bare bones at the back. I mean, one more injury and it's curtains, I think, to be honest, until we get someone back. Sweeney's out till next year. Charlie Good's out till at least Christmas, possibly longer because he did break his femur. But you know, I'm not too worried about that. Although he's had a lot of injury problems in the past, it's all been sort of muscular and tendon sort of stuff rather than broken bones, and broken bones tends to heal back stronger than, you know, muscles do. So it's a bit of a concern, but not as much as it would have been if it was a repeat injury. If you pack the midfield out as well, that's usually quite a good sign that you're gonna beat us.
Talk a little bit about Alex Revell, Nate, because obviously he came in after Wesley, I think, resigned, then was sacked, then Evans, I think, promoted him again, then Evans left, which I'm sure you're all delighted about, and now back again. How's he viewed? Kind of what are people expecting of him as a manager this season? What would good look like for him in terms of sticking around this time?
Well, it's split opinion quite a lot in the summer because obviously as soon as Evans was gone, he was given it into the end of the season. It was only a few games remaining, and a lot of people were sort of resigned to it. When he was relieved of his duties last time, he never actually left the club. He went into back to the academy. Because he only ever got the job in the first place originally because he was the academy head coach at the time, and then he was promoted again, sort of filling in, and then he got the job because he did have a really good run, but he admits it was too early then. People obviously, that was League 2, it was difficult at the time. We were, you know, at the time comfortably the worst team in England and certainly in the Football League. Obviously went through a few managers between him and then Evans coming in. He brought Rev straight back into the first team fold. And he's learnt a lot. He was very softly spoken and never really seemed sure of himself in press conferences in his first stint, whereas now he seems much more, I don't want to say energized, but maybe sure of himself. He's developed on Steve Evans' style slightly, so there is continuity between Evans and Revell. We're still very stout at the back. It's difficult to break us down. Like you said, with Carl Pierre Gianni wins absolutely everything in the air, and we do have some. We do have a good defence and a couple of good goalkeepers. So we're never too worried about shipping a load of goals, but where Evans was very direct to the final third, and then that's when you get the ball down and you try to play football only in your opponent's sort of defensive third. Revs does try to play a bit more through the middle, which obviously then opens the game up a bit more. So it is tough at the moment. We've had a lot of changes. Most of the changes we've had over the summer have been in the forward areas of the pitch. So there's lots of players to bed in. And like you said, with Jamie Reid coming back from injury, he's only played twice so far. So it's 3 times, but he's not seen out a game 90 minutes yet. So we're just not scoring goals. I'm confident it will come, but after Saturday and Tuesday, there's loads of people on Facebook who revs out and talking about how he's not a League One manager, and it's just absolute gutter.
No one gets any time these days, do they? With some fans,
it's mad.
Yeah, and Andrew's already predicting a 0-0 for Saturday. I am 100% predicting a 0-0 for Saturday. Let's jump into some of the questions that come in the chat. We'll do the more football-y ones first, but also a couple of funny ones.
Yeah.
Chris says who's going to be partnering Pierre Gianni against us, and I mean Paul pointing out that there is one Charlton fan who wants to sign Pierre Gianni. I'm fairly confident that's Charlie, but Charlie Brazilians. But he says, is there any chance he's going to leave in January? I mean, I remember he was very impressive, I think, last season against us, and he had all these stats in there about winning headers and that. But I don't think he's ever played at a higher level, has he? Have I misremembered?
No, League One's certainly the pinnacle. I mean, with obviously he's in his 30s. I think the ship has sailed for him in the Championship. I think I don't think when he was at his physical peak he had the legs for the Championship. I think League One, he's a very, very good League One defender, but you need to pair some part. Ideally you want to partner with someone on the right of him who can fill in behind and cover and be that last man who's going to make those last ditch tackles, because Pidge ain't catching anyone. And that being said, that I don't want to be disrespectful, because he's very, very, very much our just talisman at the back. He's just ridiculous. His reading of the game, certainly makes up for a lot of the pace that he's lacking. I don't think he'll leave. No, he very, very well could have left a couple of times, both when we came up to League One and last summer. But he's stuck around. But yeah, I think it'll be Nathan Thompson that starts alongside him, who isn't fast and loves to chop people. So it's probably going to be a 1-0 win with Chuks and Nico scoring a penalty.
Oh, that'd be nice. And right, I've only got time for one more question. Both supermarket related. So I'll chuck them in. So I mean, all hell let loose saying, "Are you missing?" He's fat shamed Steve Evans there, but he says, "Are you missing him?" And then, are the supermarkets fuller now that Steve Evans has moved north? And then James is asking, apparently Lewis Hamilton used to have a space at Stevenage, Esther. Is that the case?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Right, I missed that
one. Do you know what? We're not. I don't think we are missing Evans. He has 2 season syndrome where he doesn't. Second season syndrome, whatever, where things tend to turn sour. And when Rotherham came in for him in December, we rebuffed him, and I don't want to accuse him of downing tools because he wasn't allowed to go, but the form in the second half of the season certainly would suggest that something was wrong there. And from what I've heard, he definitely lost a lot of players around that time. So I'm not sorry to see him go. Don't get me wrong, he worked wonders with Stevenage. Took us over second bottom in League 2, 6 points adrift with a handful of games left, kept us up, got us promoted the following season, and worked wonders first half of the season last year. So very grateful for what he did, but when things are I should be over. It's fine, and see you later, mate.
Excellent. Well, talking of saying see you later, mate. Nate, we're gonna leave it there. Thank you for your time.
Cheers.
Thank you for not downing tools at the end of this podcast. But yeah, cheers for your time and best of luck for the rest of the season after Saturday.
Cheers. Yeah, you too.
Cheers. There we go. That's Nate from the Boro Pod, who's giving us a lowdown on Alex Revell's side. Right, let's have a look ahead to the game from a Charlton point of view. Nathan Jones spoke to Terry in the press day earlier on today, and Terry started speaking about the fact that we need to bounce back from Saturday's defeat.
During the game, quite early on against Blackpool, you got a positive reaction from those changes. You'll be looking for that reaction going forward. It's similar to what you got after the defeat against Reading, I guess.
Yeah, look, we want to bounce back because we don't want to, lose two on the spin in terms of stuff, and this start to become a problem. So we want to put it right immediately. It's a very tough game on the weekend. It's a real tough place to go, and we have to make sure that we're the best version of ourselves, and that's all we can affect, and that's what we've concentrated on this week.
You've had lots of questions, especially recently about Miles leaving, and you're probably fed up with getting them, but Miles got another 60 minutes under his belt and he got a goal. That must have given everybody a huge lift, not least Miles himself around the club when that happened. Yeah,
look, he's a lot closer than when he was before, and as I said, it's just about managing him really well, because it was a serious injury, albeit a muscular one rather than anything structural, so that's the good thing. But one, we have to make sure that we handle him well. Two, psychologically he has to be ready, and then we have to have got enough football into him that he can then tolerate a League One, the physicalities of a League One football game.
And speaking of that, of course, you've got Saturday coming up next week. Is the squad okay heading into that? What will be a busy schedule, and how close is perhaps George Edwards to figuring?
Yeah, we're almost at full strength really in terms of our squad. Just Hilts and Miles coming back, if you like. It's good that we got 3 games this week, because we've had a couple of free weeks apart from the Cambridge game, for example. So it's nice to really try to get some rhythm and momentum in this week, albeit very tough games, 2 away games. Then one of the toughest fixtures you can have in this division. So look, we've got a big week coming up.
Stevenage away is the first of the big week coming up. It's an away doubleheader, of course, as well. They've had a mixture start, 2 wins, I think, 2 draws and 3 defeats, but the 2 wins did come at home for them. So what are you expecting from Alex Revell? Well,
as I said, they're good at home. It's a tough place to go. The ground is small, it's enclosed, it's a real good football club, but it's a tough place to go and to get a result. So we're going to have to do all the basics of the game very, very well, and then hope that we have enough firepower to score one more than them.
It would be, as you say, it's quite a small, compact stadium. There'll be a decent number of Charlton fans making quite a short trip to Stevenage, and I'm sure they'll be giving you plenty of backing. That'll be important.
Oh, I know they will. They've been excellent. That obviously was a spell the other day in the first half where we think they were disappointed. They showed their disappointment, which is understandable, but they've been excellent. They've been fantastic on the road. I mean, obviously, the atmosphere will be good because of the ground, the proximity of all the fans and so on. It'll be a wonderful atmosphere. And as I said, we'll just have to concentrate on being the best we can so that they get something to sort of get behind, if you like. And we're ready for that.
There we go. That's Nathan Jones looking ahead to Saturday's trip over to the LAMEX. How are we going to attack this game then, Nathan? Nate, I should say. We've not been at our fluid best away from home this season, or indeed at home. But we've ground out a couple of 1-0 wins on the road, and I would bite your arm off for that on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good game for us. I mean, that's why I asked Nate that question about where his weaknesses are, because it was their left back, their left-hand side would look the weaker of the two, and you've got Nathan Thompson there, who's probably made most of his career at central midfield, really, that's slotting in next to Pierre Gianni. So, I mean, if that's the case, are we looking at more or less the same sort of lineup? Be interesting if Mitchell comes back in and TC probably moving into the channel a little bit more. I know he does that anyway, but trying to get a 1v1 on their left back. Because I think if we just revert to going long ball, as much as Gas has, won his fair share of headers and some he hasn't, that's cold. We're playing literally to their strengths. They're very aggressive. They're very good aerially, good at set pieces. So we need to try and get in down the sides, use our pace, whether that's Josh Edwards, Thierry Small, Kane, TC, whoever. Maybe Anderson might give a go, gives a little bit more pace and acceleration in that midfield. I don't know. But I think we need to try and use that pace to an advantage and try and get down the sides than try and rely on the long ball over the top, because it's just their bread and water, Stevenage. They'll just eat it up all day long. So I think we have to try and be a little bit different, a little bit more expansive, which I'm sure obviously they've been working on this week. So, but I'm like you. After that game on Tuesday, I looked at it and thought, oh, this has got 0-0 or 1-0 off your backside written all over it. But hopefully we can. Maybe you never know. Maybe we'll be surprised. It'll be like 6-5. Very unlikely.
Well, we all remember the 8-0 win there, don't we, Nathan? When you made one of your rare appearances on commentary as well. I've still got that audio file, one of my favourite audio files out there, Nathan. I should have dug it up for this show. I'll try and remember to find it for Sunday, because it was probably funny.
Was that when Eagle, after the game, we interviewed Eagle and we were saying that
really
his goal, and he got the ump. It was like, we're only joking, mate. And then Lapsley scored, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lapsley scored.
Stevenson hat-trick.
Yeah, I asked Bo about, how does it feel that in like 70 years this will still be spoken about as like Charlton's biggest ever win? He said, do you think I'm going to be alive in 70 years? I was like, well, so far so good. The obvious one, Mitchell coming back in. I think I'd be very surprised if Alex Mitchell didn't start Saturday's game, Tom.
Can you imagine? Another tactical decision. I think if he doesn't start this weekend, then it's not tactical. There's something going on there, because... look, as I said on Sunday's show, it wasn't all down to Reg why we lost that game at all, but it felt like a drop-off in quality, didn't it? And I didn't think Mitchell had done a whole lot wrong. So, I'd expect him to be back in. Like you boys, really. I think when you look at, they've scored 5, conceded 5, we've conceded 5 and scored, 7? So between us, it's hardly thrilling stuff, is it, in any game? I think one of their games was 3-0 as well. So 3 of the 10 goals in their games came in one game. So, it's going to be a long afternoon for everyone going, I think. But I think goes back to our point before. We've just got to get back on the wins, exactly like we did against Reading. Just try and bounce back as quickly as we can. Put the defeat behind us, chalk it up as a bad 10 minutes when they scored their 2 goals, and crack on, really. But I think at the back I'd expect that change to come in. I'm pretty sure we'll still start with the 5 at the back. I don't think he's planning on changing his formation from the start. That would be a bit dramatic. But for me, it's the midfield and going forward where we need to get that right, as we've been saying all show, really.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew's saying that Tyrese Campbell has to play as a wide player. But the only way that happens, Nath, is if we come away from our starting lineup, or he plays wing back, which ain't happening, obviously. But he has done his best work when acting as a wide player, even when playing more as a central striker. His best moments this season is when he's been sort of trying to get to the byline and cross in. And he played very well, sort of. We reverted to like a front 3 or something on Saturday, didn't we? And he played well when he's in the wider positions. So you can see it. I mean, Stuart saying get Gas out, get Godden in, Small on subs. Robertson back. Is that Edwards? Maybe he's thinking about, and then Leeburn on the subs bench. I just wonder if Godden and either Kanu or TC. I mean, maybe Godden and Kanu might work, because on paper Dan could be a bit physical. But I mean, I just feel I feel like this game is probably the best one for Gas. Like, if we are going to be going high, he's going to have to be challenging with Pergiani to try and win those headers. Otherwise, we ain't going to be winning nothing all day.
Yeah, even if we, even if we did. And we go along and we put, TC runs the channels a little bit more. That's great. But then you've got to get more people in the box to support, not just Gas. But like you say, Stevenage are very good at set pieces, attacking and defending. So even if we do play long or go a little bit direct or try and go into the channels or do the diags, and Gas is good at that, we need Gas's height. Because if you put TC and Godden up there, one thing is for sure that you lose height on set pieces, and if you do have to go long because the press is too good, Piergiani versus I'll tell you what, you can tag team Campbell and Godden together, even though Godden's got a leap on him and Piergiani still wins. So I get that he's not probably the flavour of the month for some people, and I kind of get it. But I agree with you. I think this is a typical game that just because it's Stevenage, we still have to be clever in our way of thinking and understand that we do need height when people were very, very good on set plays, because he does defend forget Blackpool, by the way, great goal. But he is useful for us as defending set plays.
Yeah, and to be fair, the own goal wasn't a set play, was it? It was just open play. He fancied seeing what he could do. Live life to the full says Hadmay is playing football though, not headball. I mean, like I say, as we mentioned earlier, he's been asked to do a job, and it's not the most attractive job, and it's a job that various strikers over seasons have got derision for. And it doesn't help that he ain't scoring many goals, and he can look a little bit clumsy on the ball, but he is doing what he's being asked to do. And I just think Saturday, I don't know. All hell let loose. Dixon's supposed to be really rapid. Play him against Pierre Gianni, who is glacial in pace. I mean, who was it who got his debut at Stevenage last year? James Abankwa. There's very few forgiving places to go and have your debut when you're not physically ready. And James Abankwa found out last season that Stevenage away is not one. It reminded when we played, I think Nosler tweeted about it during the week, when we played Stevenage away under Powley in League One. Like, Powley was so worried about having a small fullback in Chris Solly that he played Michael Morrison out there, and that was a disaster as well. But yeah, there's I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that that Dixon's fully ready yet. I think if he was, we'd have seen him on a league bench by now. He would have got minutes against Cambridge, which he didn't. So yeah, we'll see. Colin would like to see wingers and crosses, please. Let's get some creativity going and give the strikers a decent service. How about a 4-4-2? We'll get found out being so one-dimensional going forward. We need a plan B. Sam reckons that when TC was up against Bolton centre-back, he gave it a good go. The other thing here is maybe just asking about the midfield. Is in that midfield free? I mean, I think it was all hell that Lou said something about Anderson coming back in. Chris was saying in the midfield he'd like to see Campbell being replaced by Berry again. I haven't even mentioned Alan Campbell. I forgot he played last week, to be fair. We've got to find that right mixture in that midfield, whether it remains in that same formation or not, Tom, because there hasn't been enough from that midfield in terms of creativity yet.
Yeah, and I think alongside Gas, that's probably been the biggest criticism we've had of this team so far this season has been that midfield. And like you say, it just needs to click. And it's a really easy thing for me to say on here. It's hard to get right. But when you look at the players that are in there, as we say, and I think we said this on Sunday's show, Berry has played all the way to the top level and has been a creative midfielder. Doc came with a good reputation, good player. Alan Campbell, we thought he was going to come in and do a job, and he's looked a shadow of the player we were expecting, albeit in a game and a half or however long he's played. So Anderson, as I think I said last week, started last season quite well, and I was quite happy to see him getting the opportunities so far this season, but hasn't really done enough. Whatever it is, we're not getting the ball into midfield and creating chances through there. That's just not working. And when the ball's coming forward wide and the ball's getting around the box, we're not where Albie Morgan was last week on the end of balls from that to snap that up enough. Doherty has got a goal. Berry's got a couple of goals, but it's sort of the exception rather than the rule at the moment. So something needs to click. I'm really struggling because, as I say, I don't think Jones is going to change the formation. And I don't think these players necessarily need changing in terms of their individual quality. Just something needs to click there. And so I'm at a bit of a loss as to know what that is. I still feel a bit like Nate was saying about Stevenage and they're going forward. I still feel like it's going to click. It just hasn't yet, but that might be naive. And obviously we can't wait forever. So, I just want to see a midfield that can control a game a little bit more and can just get into that final third a little bit more with a bit of creativity. But as I say, everyone's saying the same thing, and I don't have the answer either, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen's saying any creativity would be nice, and yeah, we need it at some point. Yeah, Mike, the Stevenage fan, good to hear from you, Mike, says our attack is our weak point at the moment, but they're not scoring too many goals, but we are solid at the back. Mentions those two centre-backs, Sweeney and Good, that they were without, and Godden will fancy his chances against us being an ex-Stevenage player. It was very good for us too. He'll love a goal at the LAMEX. And Tom says hi. Looking forward to Saturday. We all are in a way, not necessarily about the 90 minutes of boring football that we might see looking by the defensive stats from both sides. But fingers crossed, it will turn out to be a good game. Right, we have run out of time on this week's big match preview. Absolutely flown by. Thanks to everyone who's got involved in the live chat or listened on catch up as well on YouTube. or via the podcast apps. Just make sure you hit subscribe wherever you see us so you never miss another show. Thanks to Nate from the Boro Pod who joined us earlier. Thanks to Nate from Charlton Live and Tom from Charlton Live who's joined me this evening. Always an absolute pleasure to speak to you and to learn what your real name is, Nate.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, mate. That's all I'm going to say, and then I'll say something else in the private chat. Thanks.
Yeah,
Cheers, bye.
excellent. Well, you're back on Sunday as well, aren't you? So I look forward to a whole other hour calling you Nate. Right, I'm Louis Mendes. Thanks for listening. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. We'll be back on Sunday morning to look back again at the game against Stevenage, and we shall see you then.